Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another Lost Ark guide. Today we're going to be going over the Gunlancer from more of a class perspective. What we will be doing in this video is we will be going over the general play style of the character, how they work, what the game design is, and how they function, and how they fit into groups and end game content, their awakening skills, their class engravings, and things like that. What we will not be going over is the current meta, or how they're played, or how they're best used, because one, I think that there's a big difference between the Korean, Japanese, and Russian regions already, and then as the game comes to Western release for Western Europe and North America, the play styles in the meta are going to vary wildly, as we've seen in different regions anyways. So this is more going to be, what are the mechanics, what are the tools on your tool belt, how the class is played, what you should know, and hopefully this overview helps you understand whether you want to play Gunlancer or not, whether it's going to be your main, and then just kind of think through how the class functions, and also what you can expect as you get later into the game at higher levels. But first, if you have any questions or comments for me, you'll find me live every day on twitch.tv/Drybear. Who knows? I might even be streaming right now. So we're gonna go over the abilities. Let's go over that. Let's start with the basic attack. This is when you just attack normally. For most classes, as a disclaimer, it just doesn't really matter. A lot of classes don't even end up using their basic attack all that much, or if at all. Some classes do, depending on how they weave things together, but this is a very long reaching. I mean, he does have a lance. It's a gun lance. You have some range on there. The movement ability is the only movement ability in the game, as far as I know, that goes backwards. So you activate it, and it's this little hop backwards. It's also on a 5-second cooldown, which is the shortest in the game. The Scrapper has a shorter one, has 5 seconds, but she has to wait a little bit to get it. So it's very short. And having that little hop that does have super armor, all immunity, on demand is great. Now, the Gunlancer can be one of the slowest classes in the game. It's probably the class that feels closest to a traditional tank in RPGs and MMOs, but having that little hop is really nice. It does, however, take some getting used to if you're going to main Gunlancer or Warlord in other regions, to know that when you activate your movement, you go backwards instead of forwards. Some people will use it just for defense. Some will, if they're trying to go forwards, they'll turn around and then hop and keep running. But it is a little bit different, but it does have a very short cooldown, which in a lot of encounters, when you have a lot of dodging to do, having a on-demand, all immunity hop that has a very short cooldown is super useful. Now, your abilities, as we go through those now, there are two different kinds. You'll hear these colloquially referred to as blue and red, mainly because they are blue and red. So the blue ones are more support style, tank style, very like utility aspect abilities. And there's a build that uses these for damage. And then red is more of your Gunlancer, using the gun and the lance to deal damage, right? So a lot of your red ones you'll build up and you'll use with big shots that come out of it. You kind of shoot out of there, and there's a counter that's really good, and even kind of like fire bullet, dash up or fire. It uses your lance. And then the blue abilities have like a shield or a cleanse. You have like kind of stuns. You can have taunts. You can even use bashes as well. So it uses your shield and a lot of utility, plus things that like make the Gunlancer more of a tank with a big shield. So those are the two different abilities you have. Again, they're a normal standard class in that they have 8 ability slots. So you slot together a combination of abilities that you want to make the build that you want, and you can have skill set setups as well that allow you to switch between them. But we'll go into the class engravings later that define which of these you'll use more. But those are the options you have available. And you have like very important ones, like Nalassia's Energy has a modifier for it that'll allow you to put an absorb shield on everyone. So Gunlancer is a DPS class. There are no tanks in Lost Ark. There aren't really roles. There's just, you get a group of people that do the encounter together. And depend on who you bring, you get benefits. There are support classes, Paladin and Bard, but they still deal damage. They still contribute. They have shields and healing, and the Warlord / the Gunlancer is one of the actually the only one that can provide a shield for teammates in combat. So they're a very popular class to have in groups just because of that aspect. Then let's go over their identity, which is the class-specific mechanic set or passive that defines that class. It's something that only they have, and it helps define their character and their playstyle specifically. So the Warlord has their shield. So you'll build up this this guard. So as you attack enemies, you'll build up this energy. And when it's full, you can use 2 different abilities that spend your shield energy. The first one is defensive stance. So when you activate this, it is just a state you go into, you put your shield down, and then it uses the stamina you have here to create a shield around yourself. And generally you'll hear about the Gunlancer that they tend to just ignore mechanics, because between all of their guards and their shields and bonuses, they are just so dang tanky that they can just eat mechanics and attacks very easily. Now you notice you are slower in this, and you can cancel it if you want and maintain energy, but you're able to activate that for a quick shield to throw it on you, and then the more stamina you have, you'll be able to just kind of tank through abilities. However, you can't use the second one, which is Shield of Battlefield, which is more of a team-based ability. Can be super clutch in PvP and very fun and interesting to use in PvE as well. So the way this works is you activate it, and you'll place it down on a location. When you do place it, you'll land and do some damage and then channel. And what happens is, we can just read it. It deals damage in the radius. Enemies within the radius from the point of touchdown are knocked down if they can be CC'd. And then it puts up a dome. So the dome will absorb damage done to him and his allies in the radius. And while everyone's in the dome, it absorbs damage that would be dealt to you or the people in it. So if you have enough energy, if I can full restore here, and I can reset cooldown, I can just say, okay, my teammates are about to take a bunch of damage. I can do this, and then all the damage that gets soaked in here goes to me. So it is a very tank heavy ability. It allows you to kind of absorb that and get into the fray and do some cool things. And so that's why I say, like, if there's no tank class in Lost Ark, but Gunlancer is the closest you're going to get to that experience, because you have, you have a taunt. You can activate it to taunt targets that turn towards you, which you can use to interrupt. You have a big AoE that allows you to apply shields, and then you can also, do a clutch absorb to eat a big attack or absorb something in PvE. You just get some really cool moves out of that from the Gunlancer. So that's the overall play style and mechanics for the Gunlancer. We'll go over the awakenings now. There are 2 awakenings for every class in the game, and these can be thought of as your ultimate abilities. You get one at level 50, and then you have to unlock another one with a 4-hour quest. The first one is Guardian's Protection. So when you get this, this one is, well, let's just use it. You go bam. So you get this big area. It will instantly fill your shield gauge, which is your stamina here. And then you summon a shield around, which deals damage, not that much, but it deals some. And they get stunned if they're stunnable. And then you and your parties in the area are immune to negative status effects and receive 40% less damage. So similar to your shield, if I reset this, if you think that your teammates are about to take a bunch of damage, you can activate your awakening, put the shield down, and everyone in the area takes 40% less damage, and they're immune to status effects, which is great. So again, you can be that clutch player that goes in, and if the whole team takes a big damage, but you can absorb it with your shield of the battlefield, or you can activate, if you're running this awakening, because you only have one at a time, you can activate that to soak up damage, and it does a little bit of damage as well. But because this game has a lot of solo content, and there are options for every class to have that, your second awakening is Holy War, which is basically your opposite. This one, you throw down a giant spear, it does a bunch of damage, and then crit chance from Warlord and party members is increased by 10%. So it gives a little buff. You can target this one, you go boom, big spear comes down, does a bunch of damage, and then anyone standing in this area has higher crit chance. So it's your more offensive option for awakening. So that's the core mechanic set for the Gunlancer. Let's quickly cover engravings, because they do matter based on your playstyle later on in the game. If you don't know what engravings are, every class has access to general engravings. So all these are available to every class in the game. They have tons of different effects and different combinations that allow you to make your build even more specified when you reach the end of the game. However, every class has 2 class engravings. These engravings are unique to the class that no one else has access to, and they're usually very build defining. In most cases, you only use one, and it will define your build completely. The Gunlancer has 2 different builds based on the class engravings. They are the blue and the red. So you have one that focuses primarily on red abilities, and there's one that focuses more on blue abilities. So you can see how that might change the gameplay. The red abilities are more gun lance, using the gun, using the lance, more explosions and fire, and the blue is more movement, utility, shields, you have chains, things like that. So we can go through those very quickly, real fast. Not gonna get into too much detail here. But this one is damage of common skills goes up, and the strength of your energy field for indestructible bastion, which I believe is the shield of battlefield here, I believe. And then when the guardian is attacked while it's active, or actually I think it's this one, the defensive stance. While your attack, it is inflicted with Zealot Protector, increasing damage, and it can stack up time. So basically, this just is your blue skill. It makes you tankier. It makes your common abilities, which are your normals here, these ones here, your blue ones do more, and it allows you to just be more of a blue gun lancer and have more active there. And the ones that don't use your gun lance is heavily your bayonet skills. And it'll tell you on there whether it's a bayonet skill or not. So this one is the bayonet. And then you can use the red one, which is when using bayonet skills, which are your red skills, your critical chance is increased, your crit damage is increased. You can no longer use your big shield of battlefield, which is the one that soaks damage for your team and puts up a shield. You can't use it anymore. However, defensive stance becomes, it consumes stamina twice as fast. So basically your shield of the battlefield cannot be used when you're going red because you're going more offense. And your self-defensive shield here that you activate to get more defense in a shield, this one consumes the stamina twice as fast, which means it can't be used for as long. So you trade off the lack of defense with more offense. So you can be more of a red, which means that you're using a lot more of these red abilities, bayonet, gun lancer. And honestly, late game with good gear and you have your full build, gun lancer is a full DPS character. They 100% can be pure DPS. Some people think of them as the tank, but honestly, if you're using red build with mostly red skills, you can activate and you get a lot of burst damage from all of these. So you have options there, whether you want to be more tanky, more supporty, or whether you want to be more red bayonet burst damage. So that is the Gunlancer. I hope you enjoyed. Hope this helped you figure out whether you want to play Gunlancer or not. And again, we'll just wait and see how the class is played and developed as the meta evolves in the West. But thank you for hanging out. Let's go to the next class. If you enjoyed yourself today, leave a like down below. You can support me and my work on Patreon and view Patreon exclusive content, link in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.